So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to lecture number 3 from the category of Miscellaneous in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay 2026. Now this lecture series is tailored designed to revise your entire syllabus for UPSC Prelims 2026. If you are worried about revision for your UPSC Prelims 2026, well, blindly follow this lecture series and everything would be revised. We will revise all relevant current affairs, and it's not just restricted to current affairs. All the associated static topics as well, they would also be covered. As you all know that static topics which have some connection with current affairs have a high chance of featuring in your prelims examination. Therefore, we will not just restrict ourselves to current affairs, though current affairs would be covered comprehensively. You don't have to follow any monthly magazines, PT 365s, nothing whatsoever. Just follow this lecture series. But along with this lecture series, you will also get access to static topics which are highly relevant. Okay, highly relevant and have a very high probability. Okay, now the thing is that this lecture series would benefit you only if you will start now. Because if you'll start now, then from now till your prelims examination, you just have to spend 1 hour of your day. Okay, don't postpone your revision till February or March because then it will be too overwhelming. If you'll start now, well, you just have to spend 1 hour of your day or 1.5 hour of your day and everything would be revised. So join Prelims Powerplay now. It's really important. Okay. Now, the thing is that if you are interested in this lecture series, well, to register for this lecture series, the links are given in the comment section below. So click on those links, register for it, and begin your journey of clearing prelims exam this year and being completely confident as far as prelims is concerned. Okay. All right then. Enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. And as far as today's lecture is concerned, our today's topic of discussion would be International Criminal Court. Okay. Now, you all know that wherever there are any disputes, national courts, High Court, Supreme Court, District Courts, they take care of all legal disputes. But what about international disputes? Wherever there are international disputes between countries, between individuals of different countries, well, they have to be taken care of through international courts. Right? Now, there are two major international courts. Okay, one is International Court of Justice, which is under United Nations, and the other is International Criminal Court. What is the difference between the two? We'll talk about this. But today's lecture would solely focus on International Criminal Court. And remember, ICC is not part of UN, United Nations. They can confuse this fact in the MCQs, okay, in prelims. They can confuse you with this fact. But remember this. ICC, International Criminal Court, is not part of United Nations. Okay, so we will focus entirely on International Criminal Court. We will dive deeper into this, and we will also discuss the fact that why hasn't India joined this International Criminal Court? Okay, so let's talk about this International Criminal Court. Let's begin. So miscellaneous lecture number 3, International Criminal Court. Okay, so this is the building of International Criminal Court. Okay. Now, ICC serves as a permanent tribunal to prosecute individuals for the gravest international crimes. So, if there are individuals who have committed genocides, crimes against humanity, international crimes, well, they can be prosecuted under this ICC. Now, this ICC was established as per an international treaty. The name of that international treaty is Rome Statute, okay, which came into force in 1998. Okay, so Rome Statute is the international treaty. Whoever has signed this treaty will be a member of ICC. Clear? Now, its total membership is 125, but you have to remember, International Criminal Court has not been joined by India, Israel, United States, Russia, and China. These 5 countries and many others, but these 5 major countries have not joined International Criminal Court. Clear? Now, up till now, you must have gotten some idea about International Criminal Court. If there is any individual who has committed international crime against humanity, genocides, war crimes, well, they would be prosecuted under ICC. But you need more details than that. Okay, these details won't suffice. If they'll ask a detailed MCQ in your prelims examination with respect to ICC, you will be totally stumped. So let's gather all the details that are relevant for us UPSC aspirants as far as ICC is concerned. Okay. So, and please focus. Okay. ICC doesn't stand for International Cricket Council. Generally, We have this cricket brain, Indians. Okay. So ICC, as UPSC aspirants, remember it's International Criminal Court. Now the headquarters of ICC is in Hague, Netherlands. Okay. It addresses impunity for genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity and aggression. Now remember, there is another international court which is known as International Court of Justice. It is completely under UN. India is also a member of this. But ICJ only takes care of disputes between states, between countries. So if there is a dispute between India and Pakistan, that would be taken care of ICJ. If there is a dispute between India and Romania, that would be taken care of ICJ. Okay. So ICJ only hears disputes between states, not individuals. Okay. So if there are individuals who have committed war crimes, for example, let's say that Pakistan's military chief, Asim Munir, he commits a war crime or he commits a genocide. Okay, let's suppose. Then he won't be prosecuted under ICJ because ICJ doesn't prosecute individuals. Okay, it only handles state disputes. But he can be prosecuted under International Criminal Court because International Criminal Court was designed to prosecute individuals who have committed crimes. For example, Adolf Hitler, okay, if he was around today and his crimes would have been prosecuted, then you wouldn't have prosecuted Germany. For disputes with Germany, there is ICJ. But for individuals like Adolf Hitler or Muammar Gaddafi or many others, individuals, there is ICC. Remember, ICC is for individuals or organizations. ICJ is completely for states. Okay, remember this key difference because next lecture is going to be on ICJ. So you should remember this difference. Okay. Unlike ICJ, which handles state disputes, ICC targets individuals. Now, ICC, Criminal Court, was adopted via Rome Statute. And remember, Rome Statute is the foundational treaty. Okay. On 17 July 1998. So this treaty came into force in 1998 and ICC became effective from 2002. Okay. So adopted via Rome Statute on 17 July 1998 and effective from 1st July 2002 after 60 ratifications to Rome Statute. It now has 125 state parties, so 125 members. But remember, India, Israel, USA, Russia, China, they are not members of ICC. Now, Rome Statute is the foundational treaty that outlines the court structure. What would be the structure of the court, jurisdiction, function, procedures that would be followed in this court? Everything is mentioned in the articles of Rome Statute. Okay. Now, if we talk about the historical evolution of ICC, the thing is, remember I gave you the example of Adolf Hitler, right? So, Adolf Hitler committed crimes, Nazi crimes against Jews, right? But Adolf Hitler committed suicide. But there were many of his generals that were alive even after World War II. They had to be prosecuted because they committed genocides. They committed crimes against humanity. One such person was Adolf Eichmann, right? Now, Adolf Eichmann was prosecuted, but for that, they had to create a temporary court, a tribunal. Then, Rwanda genocide in 1990s, then Yugoslavian genocides, okay, Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina genocides. So, there were many genocides in the 1990s. Those had to be prosecuted. I mean, the people who were accused in those genocides had to be prosecuted. So, that is why in 1990s, it was felt that every time there is a crime against humanity, we create a temporary court. Okay, in case of Adolf Eichmann, we created a temporary court. For Rwanda, we created a temporary court. For Yugoslavia, we created a temporary court and many others. We need a permanent tribunal. And that is why in 1998, it was decided that for crimes against humanity, individual international crimes, we need a permanent tribunal. And that is why Rome Statute was signed. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry about this, but you know the reason. All right. Now, this is the historical evolution. Okay. Nothing more than this. Just the fact that United Nations and many other bodies, they felt, United Nations General Assembly also felt that there is a need for a permanent court that would try individuals for international crimes. We don't have to set up an international court every now and then temporarily. create a permanent court, and that is why Rome Statute was signed, and ICC was born in 2002. Yes, simple. Now, as per Rome Statute, the organizational structure of ICC is as following. Pay close attention. So, ICC will have a presidency. Basically, International Criminal Court will have 18 judges. Okay, these judges would hear cases with respect to these international crimes, right? But from among these 18 judges, a president would be elected and 2 vice presidents would be elected. These people, president and 2 vice presidents, would be collectively known as presidency, and their job would be to take care of the administrative and external relations of ICC with the respective bodies. Okay, so the overall administration of ICC would be taken care of by this presidency, and these people who man this presidency are taken from these 18 judges only. Okay, their term is 3-year term from 18 judges, from these 18 judges. But the main branch of ICC is this judicial division. 18 judges, each judge is elected for a 9-year term, which is non-renewable. Okay, and by the way, well, there are different chambers. Okay, pre-trial chambers, trial chambers, appeal chamber, appeal against the decision of ICC. All of these chambers are manned by these 18 judges. Then there is an office of prosecutor. The job of OTP, and it is different from the OTP we are used to, okay, which comes on our phones. The job of OTP is to conduct investigations into these international crimes. So, for example, someone accused Bashar al-Assad or Vladimir Putin of committing crimes against humanity. Okay, but accusation doesn't mean that he did commit these crimes. Okay, so there needs to be an independent investigation that would be done by OTP. Okay, and registry for all the paperwork and all, there is registry. Manages administration, detention, victim support, and paperwork also. So, like every court has registry, registrar. So, this is the organizational structure. Now, when we talk about jurisdiction, what do you mean by jurisdiction? What type of cases can ICC hear? Okay, or should I say that in what areas ICC can hear cases? Okay, so listen to me very carefully, because an MCQ, if an MCQ comes from ICC, it might come from this jurisdiction part. So ICC, like Supreme Court, has jurisdiction, writ jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction, original jurisdiction. You know about this, right? Similarly, ICC has jurisdiction. Number 1 is temporal. So ICC can only hear crimes that were committed after July 2002, because ICC was born in 2002. Okay. For later state parties, let's suppose India joins ICC in 2025. So for India, well, only crimes that were committed after 2025, India would be involved in that. Okay. So for later state parties, from their ratification date, unless Article 12, that we'll talk about Article 12, Clause 3. Okay. But generally, only no crime committed before 2002 will be heard by ICC. Then the other jurisdiction is territorial. If the crime is committed on state parties' territory, if the crime is committed on the territory of these 125 member states, any of these 125 member states, irrespective of who committed it. Like India is not a member of ICC, but, well, Britain is. So if there is an international crime committed on Britain, even if it is committed by India, well, because it was committed on a member state, it will be taken care of. It will be heard. Then personnel. Any national, any citizen of member states, irrespective of their crime location, would come under ICC's jurisdiction. Okay? And in case United Nations Security Council refers any case to ICC, ICC will hear about it. Even if that case is before 2002, even if that case belongs to non-members, if UNSC refers it, that would be done, that would be heard. So this is an extraordinary power given to UNSC under Article 12, Clause 3. Okay? So this is ICC's jurisdiction. Now, if we talk about the crimes committed or the kind of crimes on which cases would be heard, basically what type of crimes are included in ICC's jurisdiction. You understand ICC's jurisdiction? Okay. Now, what types of crimes are covered? Genocide. Okay. Under Article 6 of Rome Statute, genocide is defined. Genocide, completely wiping out or killing a particular community. Then crimes against humanity during war times, war crimes, and aggression. For example, Russia, without any provocation, invaded Ukraine as per Western powers. So that was considered aggression. All these crimes are basically part of ICC's jurisdiction. In fact, under this aggression, Vladimir Putin was prosecuted under ICC. Even though Russia is not a member of ICC, but Vladimir Putin committed that crime in Ukraine. Ukraine is a member of ICC, and you remember this jurisdiction, territorial. So by that logic, they basically gave an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin, and it's still going on, right? So these are the crimes covered. Okay, make sense? So that's all you need to know as far as ICC is concerned, except one more thing, and that is, what is India's opinion about ICC? What does India think about ICC? Why hasn't India joined ICC? Because again, questions can be asked with respect to this also. Okay. So India's position on ICC. So what is our stand? India neither signed nor ratified the Rome Statute in 1998, along with many powerful countries, maintaining non-party status. So India has joined ICC as an observer, but not a full member. Now the reason given by India is that if there are crimes committed in India, our Supreme Court, our High Courts will handle it. We won't give jurisdiction of our Supreme Court and High Court to an international body. That would be a breach of our sovereignty. If there is a crime, Indian courts will handle it. No international court will handle it. Okay. So to protect sovereignty while engaging ICC as an observer. Yeah. Recent affirmations like hosting Putin despite his 2023 ICC warrant underscores no legal obligation for enforcement. ICC did launch an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin, but because India is not a member, India hosted Vladimir Putin recently. We had no problems. India attends Assembly of State Parties meetings. India attends ICC's meetings, but as an observer. And all the resolutions, binding commitments passed by ICC, they don't apply on India. India chooses to apply them voluntarily. Okay. India has ratified Geneva Conventions, but it is not member of ICC. Therefore, anyone who has been even convicted by ICC, India is free to host them. For example, Omar al-Bashir, he was accused of war crimes in Sudan. He was a dictator of Sudan. India hosted him in 2015. Okay, sorry about this. Now, why hasn't India joined ICC? What are India's reasons? First of all, India says that under ICC, tomorrow, if United Nations Security Council refers a case that involves India, well, India would be involved. Okay, now this is wrong. Make sense? So UNSC referral power, and UNSC is controlled by P5, USA, Russia, China, UK, France. If any of these or all 5 of these countries say that ICC should investigate this case involving, let's suppose, an Indian minister, for no particular reason, that Indian minister would be, prosecution against him would start. That is wrong. India says, because of this reason, we don't want to join. Then, jurisdiction over non-parties. Again, this UNSC. We are not party to ICC, yet we or any Indian can be prosecuted under ICC because of this UNSC thing. United Nations Security Council can do it. Like they did with Vladimir Putin. Russia is not a member of ICC, yet they prosecuted Vladimir Putin because United Nations Security Council said so. So this is a problematic provision. Then, one thing we did not discuss over here in this jurisdiction part is the complementarity principle. You know, when ICC was born, countries were not willing to join ICC because they said that if ICC is going to prosecute crimes, then what would our courts do? Every country has courts. No country would want to undermine their own judicial system. So ICC said that, look, if we find out that your courts cannot prosecute that crime or are unwilling to prosecute that crime, then only we will take up that case. Otherwise, if your courts are prosecuting that crime, we won't enter it. Okay, so our role is complementary to your courts. Okay, we are just providing a supportive role to your courts. If your courts can take up that case, well and good. If not, then we will take up that case. This is known as complementarity principle. And India has objections against this complementarity principle. So, for example, tomorrow there is a crime in India. India is a member of ICC. Tomorrow there is a crime in India. Our Supreme Court says that this crime did not take place. It does not apply. ICC tomorrow will say, no, Indian courts are unwilling to prosecute this case. Therefore, we will take this case. Supreme Court is not touching it. So, we will take this case from India and we will prosecute the criminals in India. Now, that would undermine our Supreme Court's role, sovereignty. This complementarity principle is wrong. And the last reason why India doesn't want to join this is because India says you have only included these crimes: genocide, crime against humanity, war crimes. What about terrorism, nuclear weapons, for which you can prosecute Pakistanis, or drug trafficking? Okay, what about these crimes? These are the crimes that trouble us, but you have not included these crimes. Then what's the point for us to join this? Okay, there is no benefit for us to join this because the crimes that trouble us are not part of your jurisdiction, right? So this is the thing. Plus, under ICC's Article 3, any conflict that is of non-international nature can also be prosecuted by ICC. So ICC can prosecute Indian government people for allegations of insurgency. So there is insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir, there is insurgency in Northeast. Well, ICC, someone would allege that Indian government is committing atrocities in those insurgency areas because the security situation is bad, and they would start prosecuting Indians, right? So insurgencies in India would also come under jurisdiction of ICC, and they might give an adverse opinion, just because basically the real thing is that ICC is dominated by Western powers. Okay, many African nations this year opted out of ICC because they said it is completely dominated by Western powers, and the judgments of ICC are also not fair and impartial. They are the opinions of Western powers. So India is also of that opinion, and that is why we haven't joined. But these are the official reasons that we have given. Okay, and last but not the least, well, key issues with ICC, key problems with ICC. Now, those problems are mentioned in your notes, so do go through that as well. All right. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it is adding value to your preparation. I'm sure about it. Just be consistent and regular and memorize whatever has been discussed in this lecture from the notes. Okay. Plus, if you have any doubts, you are enrolled in these WhatsApp groups. Do ask your doubts and be regular with the tests, because the best benefit, the biggest, best part of this lecture series is that along with this lecture series, you're also getting a test series, an exhaustive list of tests. Be regular with those tests, because tests are absolutely critical for success in prelims examination. So be regular with those tests as well. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another topic in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay. Thank you, everyone.